All set to start whenever you are.
Go for it. Yeah.
Right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend and holiday weekend if you celebrate. As mentioned, we just asked that you put your name and affiliation in the chat. We're in for a great conversation from NIST today. So I will pass it to our Executive Director, Matt Bogosian, for some updates. Matt, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning, everyone. April 1st, no fooling. 11:30 Eastern time, 10:30 Central, 9 Mountain, 8:30 Pacific. Our normal time every Monday. Regional leaders and BFFs from federal agencies, NGOs, private players, all working on strengthening the American manufacturing from the bottom up. These Monday national calls are short, efficient, content rich, most importantly, consistent every week. So busy people like you have a curated touch point to guide your bottom up work. Of course, it's free and open source. We like to point out every Monday and talk about the AMCC update newsletter that goes out at the end of every week. If you're not getting that AMCC update, you can drop a note in the chat right here to our operations director, David Van Sicklen, or email. He could drop his email in the chat if you want to send that separately. So get that, share it around. Super important to share it around with your regional network or whatever network that you have. So it can be a touch point, and then offer us, what you think is useful to put in that AMCC update. So it's a both sharing, and we'd love have your input. In fact, the strength of the AMCC update and these calls depends on your engagement and your offering up what is working or what needs to be worked on in your regions. Consistency is so important, for our, teamwork to produce sustainable development across America. I know it, we know it. It's all, last century, we helped countries, across the world develop their industrial muscle, and we outsourced a lot of ours. You've seen China has these plans for creating 40 of these, R&D centers across China. And now we're back in the game. And for about a decade, we've been building our own manufacturing institutes of innovation, now called Manufacturing USA Institutes. And we have plans for two more coming out. And it's great to have a BFF, Don Ufford, here to talk about those here in a little bit. We highlighted on last week's call, and now, one of the things that AMCC does pretty well is we pivot quickly, and thanks to our partners in NIST, we're now going to hear about, what's in store for us with these two new institutes. But before I introduce Don for that nutshell, we, as you heard, if you've been on these things, we like to highlight a few things from last Friday's AMCC update. So there's lots in there. The first thing that we had in there is talking about this interagency work group, the energy communities they're called. So later today, there's a webinar with several of the DOE offices, with info there. I mean, our AMCC update is packed with all kinds of DOE info, but it's, kind of a unique opportunity to hear, and I'm going to listen in from several different offices at the same time. So that's in the AMCC update. And thanks for dropping that in, David. There's US EPA has pollution prevention grants, 24 million that are out there. So that seems to me like a no-brainer to check out. And then we have, lots of other info from NSF, our fellow EDA communities of practice, other network BFFs like CREC and Argonne National Laboratories. I want to do a special shout out to our DOD BFF, Ewad Gebremariam, for bringing a useful tool that exists in another agency, DOL, to our attention. And so it's great to see our federal agency partners working across agency. The DOL resource has best practices on accessibility, uniquely abled individuals in the workforce. And so we've reported on the uniquely abled project as one asset, but this is another one for, getting more more people into the manufacturing workforce. So very cool there. There's an important shout out in the update, AMCC update for national service and a future manufacturing core. Lots of relevant articles looking at the best evidence for our bottom-up model overall. Thanks to the Industry Studies Association, Andrew Reamer, David Van Sicklen, our operations director, putting all that useful material together, including funding opportunities. We got info on our podcast, which is live now with Michelle Burris as the guest. Check out that podcast. Info about our upcoming road shows. Reach out to us if you want to have some co-created meetings in your region. But I don't want to take any more time from our good friend and BFF Don Ufford from NIST. Don's been on the AMCC Monday calls quite a bit, and actually was one of the key creators of our national advanced manufacturing strategy, which is at the bottom of every AMCC update. If you check it out at the very bottom, there is a link to our national strategy for advanced manufacturing. So, Don, it's great to have you back, and tell us what's in store for these two new institutes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. And it's good to be back. And I see a number of folks on the call that some of you I just saw last week. So nice to be back and having a chance to talk to everybody. I'm going to go through and share the information that we have on the notice of intent that's been put out. Two separate notice of intents have been put out for two separate Manufacturing USA institutes. So I'll go through and talk a little bit about it and give everybody some references so they know where to go for more information and what the next steps are. I'd like to recognize my colleagues, Susan Nipri-Brown and Amelia Stevens, who helped put this together for us in the Office of Advanced Manufacturing. We're within NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is part of the Department of Commerce, for those of you that aren't familiar with us. I do need to put out, this legal disclaimer, make sure everybody takes a look at this. And this is a notice of intent. This isn't the funding opportunity. We intend to do this. So the precedence will go to the notice of funding opportunity, whatever is written in that, when it comes out. And I can't share, any information at this point to anybody beyond the information that's already contained in the published notice of intent. But I will make sure to share that NOI with you. I'm going to talk just a little bit, first of all, about Manufacturing USA Network and Institutes, so everybody is familiar with them. I know a number of you are very involved, and I see some of our team members from some of the institutes are on the call today. So thank you all for joining us. The Manufacturing USA Network is a group of 17 institutes. It's been growing and increasing over time. EPICS is our most recent institute that's been added. You can see they're organized in 5 horizontal elements here. And each of these institutes has been developed as a public-private partnership with lead activity that's been able to bring people together, people from private industry, academia, utilizing the funding that the U.S. government provided as sort of seed funding in order to help get these started and bring them online to focus on a specific technology area. So you can see the technology areas here. I would encourage you to go and take a look. Even if you aren't going to apply for one of these institutes, you may want to work with one of these institutes and or make your members aware of one of these institutes they're showing here today. And the institutes are always happy to speak with people who are interested in the technology and workforce development in the specific areas that they're dealing with. What I am going to talk about at the bottom, though, is the upcoming competition that we have for a CHIPS Digital Twin Institute and an AI for Resilient Manufacturing Institute. these institutes have been developed in order to create a collaborative environment to deal with a gap right here in the middle of technology development and deployment. So this horizontal axis is time, and it's time, and it also represents technology readiness level or a manufacturing readiness level at the left-hand side. Very basic research that's being done. Think of like NSF developing that information, working with universities. They have a proof of concept and they can maybe make a one-off in a laboratory, but now they need to figure out how to scale this up and make it so it can be viable for high volume production on the right-hand side. So there's typically a bit of a gap there in funding and investment. And so the Manufacturing USA Institutes are a big enabler for that, where with the seed funding that the basic foundational funding that the US government provides, there's usually a greater than 1-to-1 match coming in from private industry, where private industry, through collaborative work in this public-private partnership, is able to signal this is important technology, this is important work that we need to scale up and we need to de-risk, so then we can go and apply that. And so that's the gap that we're talking about here, that funding gap. The Manufacturing USA Institute helps identify and helps resolve some of the funding issues and make sure that the groups that have the capability are working on it, and making sure that groups that want to receive that de-risk or work with that de-risk technology to take it to production are also involved. Now, the Institute partnership model, what does it typically look like here? You can see on the left-hand side, we got a figure with academia and government working together. Sometimes the institutes have a shared use facility, test beds, equipment. They can do material prototyping. And that's really enabled by the institute design on the right-hand side, which is this industry-led public-private partnership that I talked to you about. Typically, there's about 70 to 120 million of federal investment, and then the non-federal investment steps in with, greater than, in most cases, greater than a 1-to-1 co-investment. And that neutral convening then enables each institute to work with academia and businesses everywhere from startup businesses to large Fortune 500 businesses to develop that technology, and at the same time also make sure we develop education workforce development, because some of these technologies, as they come online, they're so new that the workforce isn't ready to adopt them right away and work with them. So the institutes will also work on workforce development programs in order to develop curriculum and training that then can be rolled out and applied. There's more about this in one of the links I'll show you at the end, where we at NIST, Office of Advanced Manufacturing, have put out a web link to talk more about the partnerships and how they're developed. But these ecosystem level partners that we try and pull in typically bring a lot of different experience. So in this case, as we're thinking about the AI and resilient manufacturing, we're really looking for universities to bring in AI tools and supply chain expertise. We're looking for manufacturers that are interested in supply chain and process optimization, software developers, suppliers, etc. They'll want to get involved in this. Community colleges, labor unions, trade schools, economic development entities, many of you on here today are going to want to get involved in this to help bring together that consortium that wants to apply. So if you're an applicant, or if you're part of the application group, you're really going to be expected to identify key partners from all these areas here to bring them together to not only provide the non-federal co-investment, but also to make sure that you develop a solid strategy and solid vision for what needs to be de-risked and how you're going to do that de-risking. Now, as we take a look at, how this has sort of come about. The AI Institute for Resilient Manufacturing. We know that there's a lot of work that's been done, as Matt mentioned, the National Strategy for Advanced Manufacturing in the upper right-hand corner. We've put that out there. AI is a big part of it. A lot of folks have been working on developing AI and working on AI in manufacturing, and some of the institutes today who are on the call have been working on that. But we saw there's still a need for some more in the middle. We know that the executive order in the upper left-hand corner called for safety and security for AI and its utilization. We know that Good Jobs Initiative, I think I heard Matt mention a little bit about that, is really talked about how we get workers involved and make sure they're trained, and we consider how workers interact with AI. And then in the lower right-hand corner, there's been a lot of work, especially since the COVID pandemic, around supply chain resilience initiatives. So all of those come together. We saw there's still a bit of a hole, and that's where we identified the need for the AI Institute for Resilient Manufacturing. Now, a few things to know about these NOIs. They've both been issued, and both are present. If you see in the lower right-hand corner, you can take a snapshot of that. And again, that'll also be in the information to end at the OAM funding page. We issued our NOIs, one of them here in March, one of them late February. We anticipate for both of them, we're going to release the funding opportunity here in the spring of 2024. So that'll be a notice of funding opportunity. There'll be for the AI Institute, we anticipate about $70 million in anticipated federal funding. We expect a greater than a 1-to-1 co-investment open to non-federal domestic entities, and it'll have a consortium, just like I talked earlier. Now, on the CHIPS side of things, you may recall there's the CHIPS Incentive Program, and then there's the CHIPS R&D Program. Today, we're talking about the CHIPS R&D Program, and the CHIPS R&D Program has 4 key elements. The National Semiconductor Technology Center on the left-hand side, the CHIPS National Advanced Packaging Program, there, the second box in, and the last box on the right, the CHIPS Metrology Program. Much of that will be done at NIST. Today, though, we're talking about this 4th element shown here in the middle, the CHIPS Manufacturing USA program. That CHIPS Manufacturing USA Institute, it's going to focus on digital twin for semiconductor manufacturing. So how do we develop the digital twins for semiconductor manufacturing, including things like advanced packaging? There'll be a federal commitment of about $285 million over 5 years. We are pretty sure there's going to be a greater than 1-to-1 cost share, because we've gone out with a lot of requests for information already. We got a lot of industry feedback, a lot of listening sessions. So we have a lot of information that says there'll be a fair amount of interest for this, and we're looking forward to engaging people. We do want to note, though, that as you get with an entity and try and put things together, as required by statute, that neither the AI Institute nor the Digital Twin Institute will be able to substantially duplicate work of an existing institute. So we already have 17 out there. So you can just take a look, make sure you familiarize yourself with the scope of the existing institutes. If you're part of, developing that team that's going to go and apply for one of these 2 new institutes. If you have questions, snap the QR code there. And then you'll see that on the left-hand side, the NIST Gov OAM funding opportunities, that one's a good one to go and take a look at, and that lists out both the digital twin and the AI for resilient manufacturing. The second one there, Manufacturing USA Institute model, that's the one I referred to earlier, that talks about how you put things together for an institute. I should step back and say on the first one, that OAM funding opportunity, when you go in there, there'll be a direct link to the Federal Register Notice of Intent. That's really the key area. That's the official source of information. And on this NIST OEM funding opportunity page, there's also a place to click and say you're interested in being part of the teaming group. So for any of you that are thinking you might want to get involved, this is a technology that you're interested in, go on to that first link. You can go in there, find the opportunity for a teaming opportunity, submit your information, and then you can be considered as groups are trying to figure out who they're going to collaborate with for the notice of funding opportunity. And then finally, the Manufacturing USA at NIST.gov, AI for resilient manufacturing. You can send us a note, whether it's resilient manufacturing or digital twin. I need to note that none of this is final as far as the amount of federal funding that goes in, until the notice of funding opportunity goes out and until it's set. We don't know exactly how much federal funding is going to go out there. So whether it's $70 million or higher, depending on the institute, again, that won't be finalized until that goes out with the final proposals. So with that, I'm going to stop there and say, Matt, do we have things that I can answer, or maybe I need to refer people over to the notice of intent and see what we have going on?
Well, no doubt people have questions. I mean, we have such a diverse lineup, Don. You come from industry. So talk a little bit about this gap and why it's so important and why private players need to be aware of the institutes in general and the emergence of these two in particular.
Good point, Matt. On the private industry side, there's it's tough out there when you're competing on a global scale. And as Matt mentioned earlier, we know that some of our competitors are going out there and they're really trying to de-risk technology quick for their industries. And so we're out there making sure that as we take a look at our national security, as we take a look at our advanced national strategy for advanced manufacturing, we see the need for these technologies, and we want to make sure that our industry partners are connected with the right folks in academia, at the national labs, that they're able to help provide guidance to those teams as they work on their de-risking and their commercialization strategy, and so that those teams know that there's a partner that wants to grab it and wants to go and implement it. So it's pretty critical that you go out there and you talk with industry. And, by the way, if you're part of a collaborative industry, if you're doing great stuff, industry is going to step in. They're going to put money into this because most of this is pre-competitive. So there's an opportunity to partner with like-minded industries that want to develop and de-risk this just a little bit more before they decide if it's something that they want to go in, full steam ahead on. So, yeah.
So, go ahead, please.
Yeah, that'd be great. Danny Wehrman here. So Donald, so I guess this would be prime example that you used inside of it. And forgive me if this is just such a basic question, but this is about onboarding, for instance, computer chip manufacturing that's done over in Taiwan, but all the risks around the world and maybe bringing that over to the United States. So is that kind of what we're talking about, to where manufacturers here maybe are taking on too much risk to do these kinds of advanced ways of manufacturing a certain product? So then we're bringing together funding and people that want to take on that risk, and then we're pushing it forward. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, I think as you look at any really new nascent technology that's coming on board, if you take a look at some of our institutes that are out there, all of those institutes are on real cutting edge technology areas. Okay. And to develop the knowledge about that and the capability, sometimes it takes really specialized equipment that costs millions of dollars. And, not every company can afford to spend and dedicate millions of dollars onto buying a specific piece of equipment that they may not use all the time. And so an institute allows an opportunity through gathering together multiple industry partners that maybe, guide the institute towards, we need this kind of a test bed with this kind of equipment to further evaluate and determine whether that technology is going to be solid for us. That way they can pool their funds, they can de-risk that effort, if you will, in order to utilize that shared equipment, and in some cases utilize the shared knowledge that you get out of academia, because these institutes are able to attract some of the best and brightest in the United States to come and help solve these really industry critical problems. And, you know, the best and brightest are pretty energized when they know that their work, if it pans out, it's going to be adopted by somebody. And so you get people that are saying, I'm going to adopt this. If you can de-risk it and get it to the point that we understand how we can take it on into our activity and we can manufacture that, then we're all in working with you. So it's a great way to bring people together on something that, you know, is still a bit of a stretch, you know, for whether it's angel investors, venture capital, others. You know, this is a real good opportunity to bring them together and do that de-risking.
Thanks.
Hey, Don, there's a question about the kind of the overlap between, you know, the different manufacturing USA technologies. And I suspect, you know, when the notice of funding opportunity comes out, there'll be some specific direction baked in there about how you distinguish that. But you could look at the past, and maybe you can just talk briefly about how you've handled that, you know, with the past institutes, because we have 17 already that exist. Some of those overlap, right? But you've been able to distinguish between those technologies. Yeah, we all overlap. I'm thinking of our community of practice. You know, we overlap with these other communities of practice, but we all, you know, work together where we can. And what can you say about, you know, distinguishing, you know, between the institutes? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say number one, you know, we point out that the new institute proposal can't substantially overlap any other existing institute. And, you know, I'll say that the practitioners that get involved in setting up these institutes, they are some of the best in the world. They know what other institutes are doing. They might participate in a particular area in that other institute. And you know, they'll be bringing together knowledge about what's happening and say, tell you what, this institute is focused on this area, and we can be a precursor to that. We can help augment that capability here or here while they're focusing on this, or we could augment that capability here. And that's really, you know, what you want to look for is how do you augment the capability for this broad network that we have as opposed to overlap. You know, and you don't want direct overlap. That just competes for funding. It causes all sorts of, you know, inefficiencies in the system. But if you're looking to augment each other and how you utilize linking capability, whether you're talking about manufacturing, you know, tissue manufacturing, you need some smart manufacturing in that. And you need to have your supply base be well connected in the digital world. So you're probably going to reach out to some other institutes, you know, to connect up with their capabilities to augment your capabilities. We would anticipate the same thing would happen here. And, you know, the people that know those details the best are going to be the people in the other institutes and the people putting these together that are smart about the other institutes.
Thank you, Don. We and David dropped other links also, you know, to the funding opportunity page. Of course, everyone can get a hold of us for more information on this. Looking forward to what comes out, you know, this spring. And, you know, what should maybe a final just 30 seconds, Don, what, you know, what should people be doing with this information now before the notice of funding opportunity comes out? Yeah.
Yeah, what they should do is go and take a look at the NIST OAM site and get on the teaming list. If they're interested, get themselves and or their companies, their nonprofit partners, their academic partners, get the partners on there if they're interested so they can figure out who they want to team with. We'll send out to you, Matt and David, when I get the final version. I need to make just a couple updates to that presentation. I'll send it out to you so you can offer it up to the participants here on the call. And we look
Great.
forward to working with the team. Thank you for hosting us today in this exciting opportunity.
It is exciting, Don Ufford from NIST. Thank you very much. And Michelle, let me turn it to you. We can close out the meeting.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much, Don, for the awesome presentation and just to be able to learn this information. Everyone, we look forward to seeing you back on April 8th at the same time, same place. Have a wonderful week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.